in Los Angeles, in the United States. We meet Hannah, a very beautiful young brunette with eyes and hair as black as night. She is in a relationship with a young man called Austin, a tall, fair-skinned boy with black hair and blue eyes. They seem very involved and happy. Hannah was in love with Austin, and their relationship was already 3 years old. Hannah was studying to be a fashion designer and paid her way through college with a lot of effort by selling empanadas and juices. Empanadas are heart-shaped snacks, filled with shredded chicken or ground beef, typical of this region. Austin, on the other hand, was also studying, although he hated the typical job of street sweeper, which he despised. And usually when he had free time, he used his money to go to the gym and take care of his health and body. And he hardly bought presents for his girlfriend. Not that Hannah was interested, but a present could be a treat from time to time. One day, when the couple were having a normal date in a square, Hannah embarrassedly asked, "Darling, when are we going to get married? I hope we can be man and wife soon." And Austin, very embarrassed, said, "Hannah, be patient. When things get better and when life smiles on us, I'll take you to the altar and we'll be happy." And they ended up kissing. Deep down, Austin wasn't interested in actually taking Hannah to the altar. What Austin really wanted was to get out of that life, to have a quick way out of poverty and not be trapped. Although he liked Hannah, but deep down in his heart, he didn't see any future with her by his side. Because for Austin, Hannah was just a poor, dreamy girl who believed she could be a designer selling empanadas and juice on the streets. But things would change one day when Austin was sweeping the street, and out of nowhere, a very chic and elegant woman seeming to have a great social position. The woman set her eyes on Austin and looked at the boy. Although shabby and dirty, she noticed that the boy was handsome. The boy was amazed by the lady. The woman introduced herself as Lucy. She was a very rich socialite. Austin offered to help her with her purchases and put them in Lucy's luxury car. The woman was only 15 years older than Austin, but she still had a slender body and a beautiful, angelic look. As a thank you, the woman took out a card with her name and address on it and a sum of $600 as payment, which left Austin completely thrilled and thinking that he had won the lottery. At the same time, Hannah was working hard selling her empanadas, and with her hard-earned money, Hannah was an orphan, but she was raised by her aunt and uncle, who loved her as if she were their own daughter, and admired her efforts to succeed in life and encouraged her to make her dreams come true. They also helped her invest as much as they could. She also had a great relationship with her cousins, her aunt and uncle's children, who considered her their sister at heart. As time went by, Hannah began to notice that Austin was becoming more and more distant from her and hardly visited her anymore. Hannah would call Austin to find out what had happened, but the call would always go to voicemail. What Hannah didn't know was that Austin was starting to have an affair with Lucy. The filthy rich woman gave the poor boy expensive gifts, like jackets, watches, and even a motorcycle, which began to change Austin's temper. And when he saw all that luxury in that mansion and what the woman had, that's when one day, Lucy said firmly to Austin, "Listen, Austin, let go of that mediocre girl who won't give you any future. You're just wasting your precious time with that girl. I can give you everything you want. I can give you a king's life." But Austin very shyly said, "Calm down, baby. Give me time to break up with Hannah without her making any drama or scandal. I've been with her since I was 17, and it won't be easy to break up like this." Lucy agreed to Austin's request. One unexpected day when Hannah was walking down the street, she was amazed when she saw Austin with a motorcycle, leather clothes, and a very expensive watch on his wrist. Hannah found this very strange and went up to Austin and said in a polite and affectionate way, "Love, you look incredible. How did you manage to have all this luxury, even more so on a garbage collector's salary, which isn't all that much? Baby, unforeseeable things can happen. If you just have a little patience, maybe later on we'll have a decent life and we can get married. replied Austin with a smile on his face. Hannah asked Austin if she could go for a ride with him on his bike, but Austin refused his girlfriend's request. He didn't want to damage the bike. Hannah was embarrassed and thought it was rude of Austin, and she even said it to his face, but Austin said she was being too radical, and it wasn't like that she should be patient, and that it was all for the greater good. Hannah tried to take it in her stride and decided not to make a big deal out of it. Every day, Austin and Lucy's parallel romance became more and more enthralling, and they made promises of love to each other. Austin was enjoying that world, and everything seemed incredible. Swimming in the pool, being able to take care of his health. Lucy was used to seducing boys and taking them places and getting everything she wanted from them. Although Austin ended up finding out accidentally when he went into Lucy's room without her permission to glaze the place, and when he saw in a drawer a book that looked like a Bible, small, with pages decorated with gold. But when he opened the Bible, Austin was amazed to see several photos of boys inside that book. Blonde, brunette, and red-haired boys. It was at that moment that Austin saw that all those boys were former conquests of Lucy, and he began to suspect his rich lover. So Austin left that secret Bible in its place and pretended that he didn't know anything. Austin was about to make a counter-plan in case Lucy tried to pass him over or she replaced him with another boy. But it was on an unexpected day that Lucy decided to make Austin stand against the wall, and by means of sentimental blackmail, Lucy said to Austin, "Listen, Austin, I like you a lot, and I want to know if you'll break up with this poor, mediocre girl you're living with. Will you marry me?" And at that moment, Austin, very surprised by Lucy's position, retorted, "Are you sure what you're talking about? If not, I don't want to break up with Hannah for nothing, you know that." But Lucy assured him that she was sure of her decision and would not give up on her goal. Although Lucy was a wealthy woman, she was a lover of pleasures, and in this case she proposed marriage to Austin because she liked the boy. Although Austin was between the cross and the sword, he had feelings for Hannah. But at the same time, he was very involved with that life of luxury and wealth that his rich lover provided. The boy accepted Lucy's proposal and promised that he would break up with Hannah at the weekend. Lucy smiled and could finally have the boy in her web, like a spider when it catches an insect. But Austin was already aware that he could be discarded. But he quickly went to a notary's office to get a nuptial agreement document, but without Lucy knowing, because although he was poor, he had great intelligence and wit, while Lucy was just a socialite who only believed that she should enjoy life, and that in the end, when she dies, everyone turns to dust and disappears. Lucy had everything that money provides. At the end of the week, as promised, Austin goes to Hannah's house and, as he promised his mistress, he calls Hannah and, being simple and direct, he says, "Listen, Hannah, I'm going to be straight with you. Our life has no future and you're going to sell empanadas in the street and believe you're going to be a fashion designer. I'm not going to wait long. I'm going to be direct and blunt. I want to end our relationship." Hannah is very embarrassed by Austin's words and retorts. "My love, why do you want to do this? I can't believe you're throwing away our relationship." But Austin very confidently said, "Listen, Hannah, I don't love you anymore. I have no future with you. I want something that's quicker and without too much effort. And also, as I told you, I want to break up. I've fallen in love with someone else and I don't love you anymore." When Hannah hears what Austin has said, she becomes indignant, and with tears in her eyes, Hannah ends up slapping Austin in the face, who is perplexed by the girl's gesture, and Hannah then retorts, "You're miserable, Austin. You're worthless. I was deluded about having a family with you, and what do? You cheat on me." And Austin very seriously retorts, "I'm sorry for everything that's happening, but life goes on. Find another man who can really love you and make you happy. I'm sorry I'm not the man of your life. I think you should get over it and forget it. I'm in love with another woman, and I want to move on and be happy with her." Outraged, Hannah asks Austin who this woman was, who ended his life and their relationship. But Austin says that it didn't matter, and that Hannah shouldn't do anything against her, otherwise Hannah would get into big trouble. Hannah begs Austin not to break up with her and says that she was willing to forgive this betrayal and move on. But Austin seriously says, "Hannah, please, don't be ridiculous. I told you I've fallen in love with someone else. You sound like those crazy, emotionally dependent women. Have a little more self-respect and don't keep asking for crumbs of love. That's ridiculous, Hannah." And Hannah very sadly replied, "So I'm ridiculous for wanting to fight for the man of my life. Is that what you want? All right then. Go on with that whore who's made you her head and hope that nothing works out between you. Don't let this cursed relationship go any further." And then Austin sarcastically says, "So that's your love for me? That's right. Then everyone goes their own way and I move on. I think about my future. So go ahead. I wish you all the best. Goodbye." And Austin got on the back of his motorcycle and rode off. Hannah was completely devastated and fell into a deep depression. Her aunt and uncle and her cousins did everything they could to get Hannah out of this emotional abyss she was in. The end of the relationship shook Hannah so much that she began to neglect herself. At the same time, Austin is at Lucy's mansion, and he tells her that he has ended his relationship with Hannah. That the way was clear. Lucy is happy that Austin has finally left the dregs, as she defined Hannah, and very smiling, Lucy says, "Congratulations, my dear Austin. This deserves a celebration. We're getting married soon, in 6 months. What do you think?" And Austin smiles back, "Yes, love. Hannah is no longer a problem. She even hit me. But I understand her, poor girl." And Lucy sarcastically retorts, "Don't worry, my dear. That girl will soon forget you. She's just a poor girl from the suburbs. But let's stop talking about her and move on. My love." And they celebrate and make a toast, although Austin showed Lucy that he was happy about the end of the relationship with Hannah. But Austin inside regretted breaking up with Hannah. But he believed that survival and a good life were much more important. At that moment, Austin took advantage of the fact that Lucy was drunk and completely intoxicated and asked her to sign a piece of paper saying that it was something important for their future. The confident but drunk woman signed the paper that Austin gave her in a naive and totally stupid way. And Austin took Lucy to his room, carrying her in his arms, and put her to sleep. And Austin more than quickly kept that document with him, which was the nuptial agreement. 6 months had passed, and Hannah, with the help of her family, managed to get over this loss with a lot of effort, and took with her the words that Austin had said to her. She was still very hurt. She wanted to free herself from any feelings of love that she had for Austin. She ended up burning all the few gifts and photos of Austin and went back to her fashion design course. She had decided to look at life with different eyes. But one day when she was reading the newspaper, she saw the photo of Austin and Lucy in the paper, announcing their wedding. It was at that moment that Hannah, seeing the photo, said to herself, "So that's the woman that bastard left me for. Now I see what he always wanted. Money. I hope he makes good use of it. Now I see that this guy was never for me." At first, Hannah wanted to make a scandal on Austin and Lucy's wedding day, but Hannah preferred to put that aside. With dedication and effort, Hannah manages to finish her designer course, and everyone goes to her graduation. Hannah's uncles and cousins are very happy, and Hannah would now reap the rewards of her work, over time, at her job in a fashion gallery. Hannah meets another designer by the name of Dylan, who, on seeing Hannah, is amazed by the girl. The young man was a natural redhead with an athletic build and brown eyes, and without wasting any time, Dylan begins to use all his charm to seduce Hannah. Dylan understands the girl and accepts her decision, deciding to be just her friend. But the young designer wasn't willing to give up and would do anything to win Hannah's affection. In parallel, Austin and Lucy finally get married, but not in a big, lavish ceremony like many rich people do, but in a simple, private ceremony, only for a few guests and acquaintances. although Austin had asked some of his acquaintances to come to his wedding to Lucy, but they refused and didn't go, because they did it in solidarity with Hannah and knew about the deception he had done to the girl. This made Austin very disappointed not to see them at his wedding. One day, with all his courage, Dylan decides to declare himself to Hannah and with firmness of purpose says, "Hannah, ever since I saw you, I can't get you out of my head. I'd like to ask you something. Would you like to be my girlfriend? If you say no, I understand. At least we could go on as friends." Hannah is touched by her colleague's request and declaration and replies shyly, "Take a good look, Dylan. I can see that you're a really nice guy. But I had a boyfriend once and I was a complete disappointment. So I can't trust men anymore, and I'm afraid of being disappointed again." And in a kind and polite way, Dylan says, "Hannah, I don't know what happened in your past, but whatever it is, you can get it off your chest and tell me. I'm all ears. Just tell me. I'll listen to you." Then Hannah tells her whole story about her relationship with Austin, his betrayal, the abandonment she suffered and the sadness she had to endure over the following months, and the complete lack of hope in believing in love. And Dylan affectionately replied to her beloved, "Hannah, I understand what you must have gone through, but believe me, not all men are the same, and your ex-boyfriend is a complete coward who has no idea what a great woman he's lost. I promise you that if you give me a chance, you won't regret it. My feelings for you are genuine and true. I'll show you with actions, not words. Think about it fondly." Hannah, hearing Dylan's words and seeing a genuine and sincere look in his eyes, decides to give it a chance, and romance begins to flow between Dylan and Hannah. Their passion for fashion brings the two together, and they create clothing collections and work together as a team. Every day, the two of them become more and more close. They go out, play, have fun, and date in public. In parallel, between Austin and Lucy, things are also going well at first, but soon, fate will throw a real bucket of water on Austin's life that he will never forget. After 2 years of dating, Dylan decides to ask Hannah to marry her, and the emotional woman accepts. To the delight of her uncles and cousins, Hannah finally manages to forget Austin once and for all. And after 4 months of preparation, Hannah and Dylan get married in church. 3 months into their marriage, Hannah becomes pregnant, which makes Dylan very happy and joyful. When the pregnancy is complete, they have a baby boy who they have named Sebastian after his father. As for Austin and Lucy, they lived well for a whole year enjoying their relationship. But Austin was soon to discover a not-so-good side to his wife. The following year, Lucy seemed to completely ignore Austin and no longer paid any attention to him. Her husband even ignored his wife's double game. This began to cause Austin to become suspicious, and as Austin questioned Lucy, they began to fight and argue after only 2 years of marriage. Lucy always reminded him that everything was hers, and he had nothing. Austin put up with his wife's humiliations, until one day, he decided to follow his wife to find out where she was going. That's when he came across Lucy, watching from afar, his wife chatting and having a very lively lunch with another boy. That makes Austin completely freeze at the sight. So he takes out his cell phone to film it, just to get some proof. At first, everything seemed calm. But when he sees Lucy kissing the boy on the mouth, it makes Austin's world fall apart. He believed that Lucy really loved him, and remembering the pictures of men in Lucy's golden Bible, it made him think that his wife really only liked men and then threw them away. Arriving home, Austin decides to use strategy rather than his hands to make Lucy pay for her infidelity. When Lucy arrives at her mansion, Austin greets her, but the woman pays no attention to him and hardly notices him, goes to her room, takes off her clothes, takes a shower, and goes to sleep. After Lucy leaves, Austin decides to go through his wife's things again and sees hidden in the corner of her jewelry box tickets to a very posh hotel. It was at that moment that Austin realized where his wife was going every night. He decided to follow Lucy, and that's when he arrived at the hotel. And seeing Lucy and her lover enter the hotel, he waited for her to ask for the key, and entering the place, wanting to get to know the place, because he was well dressed. The staff thought they were just another customer and didn't mind letting him in. And when he saw the number of the room where Lucy and her lover had entered, the hotel employee who was there didn't let him in, but Austin offered the employee some money to open the door. Because it was his wife who was there, he took out a wad of bills, and the very greedy employee quickly took the spare key. And when Austin entered, he saw Lucy and her lover doing what they shouldn't have been doing, and they were the way they came into the world. At that moment, Austin took out his cell phone and filmed the two of them for a minute, and then put his cell phone away. It was then that Austin entered, and clapping his hands loudly shouted, "Very nice, my dear Lucy. I gave up everything for you, believing that you loved me, and now you're thanking me? Now I know where you go on your escapades." And Lucy and her lover quickly covered themselves with sheets, and a very nervous Lucy retorted, "Austin, what are you doing here, and how did you find out about this place?" At which point Austin replied, "How I got here doesn't matter. Now everyone will know who you really are. Darling, what an imbecile I was to leave Hannah for someone like you." Lucy tried to persuade Austin not to do anything, because she had influence, and he was a lowlife who had nowhere to drop dead. But Austin didn't care, and already had his cards up his sleeve. When he got home, Austin collected his things, and when Lucy arrived home right behind him, the two of them got into a nasty argument, and there were a lot of barbs and accusations between them. It was then that Lucy revealed the truth and said, "You want to know, Austin? I've had enough of you, and I'm sick of you. You're just another toy I've had fun with. Although I must admit that you were the only one who really charmed me. I've had enough, and I've thrown you away. If you want to ask me for a divorce, I'll give it to you without a problem. Only you'll leave empty-handed and with no right to anything." And Austin replied indignantly, "Well done, dear Lucy. You have no idea who you've messed with. I left the woman I loved for you, and you gave it back. Shame on you." And Lucy again debauchedly replied, "I told you, if you want a divorce, ask for it. I'm not going to stop having fun and living life intensely just to look after you. Get connected, buddy. Get up to speed. Things aren't as you think. I'm not going to put out my fire because of you." And Austin, with a serious look on his face, replied, "We'll see about that, my dear. But you can be sure that I won't leave empty-handed. You can't imagine the box of surprises that awaits you." While Austin and Lucy argue, Austin packs up his few things and leaves the house. Lucy is not impressed, and believing that she was rich, she could have everything. But Lucy can't imagine the tirade that Austin would give her. Lucy signed the divorce papers without hesitation, but soon received a notice of division of assets for infidelity. Lucy couldn't imagine what Austin was planning, and when the day of the hearing arrived, it was at the hearing that she discovered the surprise. Lucy had signed a nuptial agreement that in the event of infidelity on the part of one of the spouses, the assets would be divided in half between them. Lucy could never have imagined having signed this agreement. She tried in every way to challenge this agreement, but it was her signature and there was no way to annul it. It was only when she was drunk that she remembered what she had done. But it was too late. And since Austin had presented proof of Lucy's infidelity to the court, and feared that his reputation would be ruined, and didn't want it to be made public. With no alternative, Lucy begrudgingly accepted the settlement and decided to give Austin $12 million, a mansion and a car, on the condition that it would not be made public. Austin accepted the settlement and Lucy signed the papers. After finalizing the terms of the separation agreement, Lucy has one last conversation with Austin and retorts, "Have a good one. Let's see where you get off with this. I could never have imagined that you would be so low, miserable, and cheating like that. I'm practically disgusted with you." And Austin replied seriously, You have nothing to complain about. I only took what was rightfully mine. Besides, you still have enough money to amuse yourself for generations. I was in love with you, and after only a short time of marriage, you do this to me. I'm sorry, darling. Just be grateful it didn't get out in the media. This is our last conversation. Goodbye." Then Austen left and went to his new mansion, and it was at that moment that he began to remember the nostalgia he felt for Hannah, believing that she still loved him. And now that he had a good fortune, he thought it would be fair to compensate Hannah for everything he had made her suffer, and believed that she could get back with him, because Austen noticed that he had never really stopped loving her, and Lucy was just a passing fire. Until Austen decided to look for Hannah on his own and find out how she was. He called her and saw that he was blocked, on social networks too, through a fake account. Austen saw Hannah's profile and saw that she was married with a child. This left Austen completely devastated, and he saw that she had in fact become a fashion designer and was launching clothing collections that were proving to be a great success. Austen gathered his courage and went to the fashion design company where Hannah worked. He stood at the reception desk waiting for Hannah, and it was at that moment that he saw Hannah coming out of a room, and his eyes lit up at how beautiful she looked, radiant and perfect, and preparing her speech to win back the love of her life, and saw the woman with her little son. It was at that moment that Austen approached Hannah, and when Hannah saw Austen, she was astonished and exclaimed, "Wow! Austen! It's been a long time. I thought I'd never see you again after you broke up with me to be with that rich girl you dumped me for. And by the way, where is she who should be by your side?" And at that moment, Austen answered, but without mentioning the real cause of the breakup, and replied, "Hannah, unfortunately it didn't work out. Our geniuses didn't get along and it's over. But now that I'm free, I want to ask you for a chance to get back together and if we could try again. I assure you that this time I won't fail you, and I promise to make it up to you in the best way for all the harm I've caused you." At that moment, Hannah replied in astonishment, "Austen, have you lost your mind? Don't you know that? I'm a married woman now, and I have a little boy, as you've seen. Do you think I'm some kind of garbage that you throw away and then try to get back? Not at all." And very embarrassed, Austen replied, "Listen, Hannah, you've always been the true and only love of my life. What I felt for Lucy was just physical attraction, but my feelings belong to you. I have a lot of money now. I can give you the life of a true queen, and your son will have the life of a prince. I promise to love him as if he were my own. Since he was born from you, I'll take over this boy if necessary, and maybe we'll have children of our own. Think about it." At that moment, Hannah bravely retorted, "Listen, Austen, have you forgotten everything you said to me? The way you humiliated me and broke off our relationship and all those things you said to me? I cried and begged you not to break up with me. You said I had no future with you and all those horrible things you said to me. I've never forgotten that, Austen. I'm over you. But I've never forgotten everything you did to me." At which point Austen retorted, still trying to convince Hannah, "Listen, Hannah, I know I did all that to you, but that's in the past now. Let's try and give each other a chance again. We can still make things right. Think about it, Hannah. You've never left here in all these years. I want you back." And Hannah finally fired her bombshell in Austen's face. "Listen up, Austen. There's no such thing as we. You're history now. I'm happy for your fortune, and I'm not for sale. I'm not a commodity that can be bought and then thrown away. If there's one thing I have that you don't, it's dignity, self-love, and willpower. I'm no longer that naive girl in love. Now I'm a woman who is firm in what she wants. Unfortunately, I'm sorry for you, Austen. But you've wasted your steps and your hopes by coming here. I wish you all the best. But I wouldn't go back with you if you were the last man on the face of the earth. Be happy with your millions, and I'll be happy with my family." Austen was completely shocked by Hannah's words. He was seeing the consequences of having despised his beloved in the past, and now she was rejecting him. Deep down, he saw that his efforts had been in vain. And gently, Hannah said, "Austin, you'd better go and let's forget what happened between us. I hope you find someone who loves you as much as I loved you. Be happy and may God bless you. Please. Go away because my husband Dylan might show up at any moment and it might not end well. Just go away. I'll be forever grateful for the things I learned from you. Now I'm out of here. Live your life and enjoy the millions you've made. Please." Austin, totally humiliated and embarrassed, leaves the agency and goes to his mansion. Austin realizing the hard way that he has lost Hannah forever. Hannah, Dylan, and Sebastian live peacefully as a family with pure happiness and a true union. Austin, on the other hand, was with his millions, surrounded by luxury and comfort, but completely alone and without the love of his life. Sometimes he looked at Hannah's social media and saw how happy she was with her husband and son. He mentally imagined himself in Dylan's place, believing he was the leader of that family. Unfortunately, the only thing left to do was to keep his fortune, but completely alone, only receiving visits from his family, which was the only thing that still served as consolation. Austin decided to leave Hannah out of his life and would try to move on, although he still missed Hannah and the times they had dated. He could never really forget Hannah and deeply regretted not having her by his side. Lucy, on the other hand, remained reclusive and reserved. She kept her millions, but was completely frustrated at having been deceived by Austin, who was the only lover who had passed her by. But they